Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Before we start, if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and you can always change your mind later. But if you stick around, there just might be some tasty cookies in your near future. Alright, our first story today comes to us from Extreme Conditions. Put that on my personal credit card? Okay, let's jump right in. In 2000, I was hired by a company in the construction industry. In 2002, they asked me to help start a new division of the company. They are the owners and the general manager. The general manager made it known he had a bug up his butt for me after my first year. Intermittent little digs, flippant attitude, demeaning, etc. Cut to after we get the new division up and running, and I request being able to start a web presence. Ownership is all over the endeavor, while the general manager brushes me off and says, "It's your division, do what you want." My division functioned with a separate business name. As I'm purchasing the domain name, my thoughts turn to the mothership and how it has zero web presence. Checked out and lined up the actual two business names and several close permutations so they would be somewhat secure in knowing their business names couldn't be taken out from under them. I go to the general manager and ask for a check from the main company to pay for the domain names, and he, again, brushes me off saying, "It's your division," his favorite line, "do what you want. You've got a credit card, expense it like anything else." I did start to ask, "Are you sure you want me to put it on my personal?" And it was curtly cut off. By 2004, my division was running at a 44% profit margin, which netted $750,000 US per year. In the first 6 months of its existence, I'd already paid back the build-out, training, machines, equipment, all the startup and setup. That is how successful the division was. The general manager became jealous of my achievements and tried to seize control over operations, citing he was the general manager of the entire company, whereas prior, it was my division to do what I wanted. Each horn in by him, I'd deflect and defend my division. By 2005, I'd had enough and ended up quitting as I heard he was preparing to fire me to fully seize the shiny penny as his own and take all the credit. I planned ahead, saved money, quit, and took 6 months off. It was a spring to fall extravaganza of doing whatever the heck I chose. Good times. Good frickin' times. About a year later, I can't remember exactly how long, a charge appeared on my credit card for my former company's domain names. Being for several, the amount stood out like a sore thumb. I called and verified the charge and who or what it was for, and in my conversation with a very nice person, they said, "Yes, Mr. X, all of these names are registered to you." About 3 years after I left the old company, my phone rings, and guess what number pops up on the screen? Oh yeah, I let that go to voicemail. The message was from the bookkeeper, asking if I could return their call. Next day, here they try again, but straight to voicemail they go. After a week of messages that were now pleading me to call them back, I returned the bookkeeper's call. Well, the cat came out of the bag, and the main company finally decided to build out a web presence and had shelled out a ton of money to do so. Think online catalog, interactive web page, all the things we expect now, but were high tech then, and were just coming into functional reality. Lo and behold, when they went to get their beautiful .com up and functioning, their exact name was taken, as well as a string of similar ones they could have used had I not snatched them up. The bookkeeper asked me to release the names to them. I indicated that would be very easy to do. It's a simple matter of signing them off, no? They agreed as their anxious web builder had prepped them for the chat with me. I said I'd be happy to turn the keys to the kingdom over to them, but I wanted a few things. Reimbursed for all expenses up until that point for owning the domain names. A finder's fee, that pissed them off, but what can I say? I was yelled at to put their domain names on my personal credit card, and the general manager himself would have to hand deliver the check. That third line item was a sticking point, but dear Mr. Manager was forced to bend the knee. I mean, I certainly wasn't going to budge. General manager shows up at the appointed place, hands me the check, and barks at me about returning their domain names to them today. He did this so loudly, people in the coffee shop we met at turned and stared. I laughed and said, after the check clears, sure, yeah. He balked and insisted I immediately transfer the names to them as I was holding up the entire show. As I left, I smiled and said, you're to blame here. You yelled at me to put the domain names on my credit card. He was absolutely fuming at this point. Besides, I love taking your advice to do what I want, remember? And I am. Okay, I'm not completely sure of the legalities on this one, but if OP was the rightful owner of those domain names, well, they should have charged that company a lot more to get them back. In fact, you'd think they could have sweetened the deal a little bit here and maybe redirected those domains to some kinda, raunchy website. That would have made the company be willing to pay a lot more out for it. Although it might have opened them up to a massive suing, I don't know how that works. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments. Our next story today, which also has an update post, comes to us from D.O. Bean. Boss told me to deep clean the back and to not come to front for any reason, so I did. Let's jump right in. I'm a 20-year-old male that works at a very popular restaurant in a very snobby area. My main job is to assist the servers in any way I can, so they only have to worry about sweet-talking the customers. I do all the heavy lifting for them, whether it's cleaning their tables or taking their drinks and food to their tables, I'm doing it. And all they have to focus on is making the customers laugh. They get tips that range from $17 to $40 per table, while I make $8 an hour and get treated poorly. Enough backstory, cue the malicious compliance. My manager came up to me in a I'm better than you mood and told me to deep clean the floors, ice makers, walls, trash can, and racks, and to not come to the front for any reason. I'm very annoyed at this because none of those things are my job duties. We have a staff that deals with all the cleaning of the back. So it didn't make any sense to have me do it. These tasks would have taken me an hour and a half max, but I was feeling a bit cheeky and decided to really deep clean the back until it was spotless. About 30 minutes later, the same manager comes up to me and tells me that there are 4 tables that need cleaning and 2 other tables just got sat and I need to bring their drinks to them. I looked at this man with the stare of a 20-year-old that has no bills to pay, and I say, no, I'm not done cleaning. He looked shocked and responded angrily, you can finish later, they need help. And I countered with, no, it's filthy here. We don't want a health inspector to just walk into this filth, do we? He storms off like a toddler that didn't get their candy. 2 hours go by and I'm on my hands and knees scrubbing, as if I was working for Chef Gordon Ramsay himself. The same manager comes back again with a smirk and says, wow, this looks like it's going to take you all day long. Maybe you should come to the front and help the servers, since there's a huge Sunday rush. I replied with, you might just be right, and I go back to cleaning. He storms off again. Fast forward to 2 minutes before my shift ends. My knees, legs, and fingers are all aching from cleaning. I shuffle my way to the front where my manager has been waiting for me, and he says, you finally decided to come help, huh? And I look at him without saying anything and clocked out. And then I tell him, sorry, I'm not clocked in. I walked out to my car while he was blowing my phone up. I didn't care. I had 5 days off back to back, and he can't fire me since I did as he told me to. The moral of the story is, don't think you are better than someone that has nothing to lose. OP added a couple of edits at the bottom here. The first one says edit. For all the people that have been commenting that he can fire you, yeah, you are right, he could, but he won't do that because I'm the only one that is working the position, and no one has applied to come work at the place for $8 an hour. There are more details to the story than what I told, so instead of trying to be smart, just ask, why do you say that? Instead of assuming I'm just some entitled kid who thinks they run the world. Thank you for reading. OP's second edit says, second edit, good morning everyone. Sorry I can't read most of y'all's posts, but I'd like to say thank you and answer a couple questions on here. I don't have any living, food, or insurance bills. The only things I have to pay for are my flight school and saving up for a car, which I don't consider bills, since I'm not being hunted down for those. I am also having a job interview tomorrow at a place that pays $17 an hour, and I'll be working 1/3 of what I am at my current restaurant job. Lastly, I do get tip shares from the servers, but it goes straight to my paycheck. So that means that the servers can report less of what they made and give me less. So instead of making $8 an hour, I'm making $9 an hour. I did the math through my paycheck. Thank you for reading. P.S. Update will be on Friday. Jumping right into the update that was posted 4 days ago, it says, starting off, sorry for not updating on Friday the 10th like I said I would. Life got in the way, plus several events happened. This will be a decent sized update. Friday rolled around after I was coming back from the small vacation I had. The location had no service. I greeted some of the servers I'm cool with, and they all gave me an oh crap look, since apparently my boss had been trying to call me to come, open, and close on Wednesday and Thursday. Obviously, I didn't know this since I had no service where I had been at the time. I make my way to the boss expecting to get a freak out from him, which surprisingly he didn't have. He welcomed me back and asked a couple common questions about my trip. After 5 minutes of talking, he springs on me, since you didn't come in on Wednesday and Thursday, you need to come in Monday and Tuesday of next week. To which I replied, did you schedule me for those days? And he immediately replies with, no, but I know you have nothing to do since you're just a teen. At this point, my face just looked like I had seen a bear riding a bicycle while juggling bowling pins. I was absolutely amazed at how those words came out of his mouth with such ease, like he really believed he had any sort of power over me. I paused for a moment and said, no, I don't think I will be doing that since I'm not currently scheduled on those days. I will not show up on those days. He then tried to argue that he had to come in on his day off to cover my shifts. I learned from the servers that he never showed up. The last thing I said to him before I started working was, this isn't my problem, hire more people, and walked off. Saturday, the 11th. Today was looking like it was going to be pretty mundane, busy floor, a lot of food needing to be run, tables that need to be put back together. Pretty usual tasks of the job until my boss showed up and started barking orders, even though the restaurant was very packed and we needed all hands on deck. But obviously, that's not what he wanted. He couldn't care less if the restaurant went to the toilet. All he cared about was being in control. The boss tells me and a server to go clean the storage closet, and if we don't, we can just be cut. We both reluctantly go and do it since he had 4 tables to attend to and I wanted to help him so he wouldn't get bad tips just because a man-child wants to give tasks that can be done later and lay it out on the table for us to see. Super Bowl Sunday, the 12th, was supposed to be a really slow day since we don't have any TVs on the walls and we don't serve bar food. But as soon as church got out, we were super slammed to the point you couldn't see the front door. It stayed like that until 3 p.m. and I was just ready to leave. So I did. I clocked out on time as you would at any other job. And my boss saw that and said, you're not being a team player right now. You're just going to abandon ship just like that? To which I reply, well, yeah, you only have me scheduled for the time scheduled, not for when it's convenient for you. I have no problem working over the time I'm scheduled for, but I just can't with this snarky remarks and annoying temper tantrums he has on the daily. I'm just very done with him. So why would I go above and beyond for him? Plus, it was the Super Bowl, and of course, I had plans. I wanted to hang out with my friends and not work. Thursday the 16th, I received an email from the new place I'm going to be working at, and I got the job. The new job will be paying me $16 an hour, double of what I've been making. I also start Monday. I had gone to work the same day and told my boss, I will not be able to put my 2 weeks in. However, I will work through this Sunday, and that will be my last day working for you. I hope that is enough time for you so you can find my replacement. And if this doesn't work for you, I can always make my last day be today, since Texas doesn't require employees and employers to submit a 2-week resignation. He starts to freak out since Monday to Thursday of next week, the restaurant has a bunch of large reservations. He replies with, if you stay with us, I can give you a big raise for all your hard work. My eyebrows raise since there is no way that his raise will match my new employer's rate. Intrigued, I ask, how much were you thinking of giving me? Drum roll, clears throat. I can give you a 25-cent raise, which will make your paychecks a little bit heavier. I am dumbfounded. My brain packed up and jumped off my head. This was the best deal I could have gotten ever. Screw the new job. Who can say no to an extra $20 to their paycheck? Kidding. I politely declined and told him I had already made up my mind, and for the rest of my shift, he was in the office scrambling around posting job listings and looking at applications. It's really crazy how someone goes from being a complete dictator to a servant when they lose their power. These last 2 days, he's been nothing but cupcakes and sunshine because he knows I can leave whenever I like. Thank you all for reading. I will try to post an update this Sunday on my last day working here if there is a big enough event. OP really needs to look into if this new employer has a referral for bringing other employees on, because they could go back to that old workplace of theirs, tell all the other people there that aren't making good money about this new job, and try to get them to come over and make some money in the process. I mean, I'm willing to bet OP wasn't the only one being treated like crap by that manager. I've had a manager like that myself in the past. Screw you, Rick. And you just want to shove it to them. Now, if I could have taken other employees with me when I left my job, I would have done it in a heartbeat. So I recommend that OP does the same thing. This is another one of those stories that proves the point that most people don't quit crappy jobs, they quit crappy managers. Most jobs aren't bad, people are bad. A 25-cent raise. Should have told the boss what he could do with that quarter. Our next story today comes to us from CurrentFly8346. Oh, that was Katie's job. Let's jump right in. I was working for a manufacturer years ago. It was a small operation run by a husband, CEO, and wife with a sister business of a front-end platform that was run by the wife's brother. The husband's mom and some cousins also worked there between the two businesses. With an operation like this, you had the typical micromanagement from CEO, minimum wage pay for top dollar performance expectations, and the general nonsense you can expect in a setup like this. I had this job while in college and needed to build my resume. They let me have a flexible schedule so I could leave early for my night classes and when I had midterms and finals, so I knew I had to stick it out. After about 6 months of working there, my job responsibilities grew tremendously, but my salary did not. There was a high turnover rate in the office from the "we're a family" environment that meant actual family got special treatment and everyone else was expected to do a crazy amount of work without getting any credit. One of my friends, we'll call her Katie, was looking for work and my company was hiring. I told her what she was getting into, but as a recent college grad looking for office experience, she decided to give it a shot. First, my referral bonus never came, even after she worked there for 90 days, and I was told that I shouldn't inquire about it because I referred someone to help the company, not to get the extra money. I wasn't in a position to push, so I didn't. I trained Katie in her role as she was taking some of my old responsibilities. Well, the CEO and the wife didn't like how much time the two of us spent talking to each other, or how much time we spent away from our desks, which was genuinely us using the restroom and getting water. This made no sense because I handled product onboarding, and Katie suggested products for curated events, so it was important that she knew what new products were coming out and when she could start promoting them, so that stock wouldn't sit in the warehouse. We separately had meetings with the CEO and office manager, putting us on probation for this behavior. Cue malicious compliance. We stopped talking as much in the office, effectively cutting me off from curated events and making it impossible for Katie to use our new products on the upcoming events. Events could be scheduled anywhere from a week to several months in advance, so it was a great way to boost sales and visibility of our new items. My friend ended up getting fired for having a brain and questioning some of the stupid policies. Also, for doing something so outrageous as taking her unpaid lunch hour, showing up at 9 and leaving at 5. Normally, I would have gone back into the platforms to curate events until they found someone to take over the role, but I was petty. I had been there for a little over a year. I was training employees, teaching myself the ins and outs of all our retailers' back ends to upload products, coordinating with our factories overseas, the freight companies, and our warehouse so that products would be live as soon as we had stock, and was still getting paid like I did for the minimal role I had when I got hired. So, not my job, not my problem. Fast forward a few months, the CEO decides to show up to work on the office floor instead of working out of his private office. Whenever he was on the floor, he was always super loud and disruptive to the general flow. I hear him talk about sales from the past few months, specifically about sales from events, so naturally my ears perk up. He starts getting louder. I don't get it. There's this huge decline in sales. None of our new products are getting any traction. I haven't been addressed, so I keep tapping away at my computer and act oblivious. He calls over the office manager and they start hashing it out. 6 months ago, the sales for our new items went down significantly. I'm thinking, yeah, duh. That's when you told me and Katie to stop talking. The initial data that was supplied with product photos and descriptions weren't clear. It would have been a very long process for Katie to sift through the new products to try and match them to events, as opposed to what we used to do, which was she would tell me the theme and what she was looking for, and I'd get her data on a short list of items that she could review to match to said events, as opposed to dumping 100 products on her. Then, 3 months ago, they became almost non-existent. Sales have dropped almost 70% with these events. 3 months ago is when Katie got fired. Eventually, the two of them piece together that they need to blame whoever is curating events, and the CEO starts asking everyone in the office whose responsibility is to work on events. Finally, it gets to a point where I can't stay quiet. The office is too small, and I play too big a role in product management. So I chime in, "Oh, wasn't that Katie's responsibility?" CEO replies, "She hasn't worked here in 3 months. You mean to tell me no one has been submitting products for 3 months? He is livid, and it's clear that I am now in the path of his rage. Why has no one been handling this? Everyone is kind of looking around, and the office manager, let's call her Karen, starts shifting the blame onto me, since technically Katie was in my department. Once the finger pointing started, I was prepared to defend myself. Well, Karen, I thought you were the one who was in charge of managing and keeping track of every employee's role. So Karen replies, "I am, but you knew this is an important part of our sales and marketing." I reply with, "The week before she was let go, didn't you specifically get all of her passwords and a complete list of all of her tasks?" Karen replies, "Yes." She is clearly concerned with where I'm going with this. "And after she was let go, did you communicate to me that those tasks were now my responsibility?" "Well, no, but I shouldn't have had to." "But you're in charge of delegating tasks and making sure all work is assigned to employees. Are you implying that I was supposed to know that you had a list of tasks unassigned? Why would I assume that you didn't delegate those to another team member when that's an essential part of your role?" Needless to say, Karen was very annoyed with me, but I wasn't taking the fall. They didn't ask me to curate events. Karen handled that, which got them to hire another person very quickly, because it was too much work for her on top of her other duties. The story of me and the new girl needs its own post, so I'll end this one here. OP, you can't leave us on a cliffhanger, come on, we need this new story now, we deserve it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but in this story and the previous one, they both seemed like they really didn't have anything to lose, so they were willing to push back against the management. Now, if you're a family person, you're responsible for taking care of a whole family of people, and you only have this job without something else lined up, I don't think you're going to be anywhere near as willing to call out your management team like the OPs did in this story and the previous one. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Please comment down below. Alright, our last story today comes to us from Gloomy Ideal 3670. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. Let's jump right in. I work for a family business with 30 plus employees. This is a company that has friends and family members as top-tiered management, and often made up rules whenever they felt like it. When new employees join the company, they sign a basic employment contract, stating the compensation, benefits, and work hours. The company does not have a written code of conduct. One particular manager is a friend of the president. Let's call her Sally. Sally manages a team of 8 employees, including myself. we aren't allowed to make small talk while working, and we are required to let her know when we start taking our breaks, and when we return from breaks. Sally interjects whenever a team member is asking another team member questions, because Sally is a micromanager. Sally also makes us come to work early once a week for 30 minutes, unpaid, so that she can recap the previous week, and often uses this time to tell us what we're doing wrong. She made it clear that this weekly meeting is mandatory. During one meeting, she brought up expectations for continued employment at the workplace. No swearing, no talking bad about customers amongst ourselves, no personal phones on desks, no music during work hours, no talking to other departments unless it's work-related, etc. Then she brought up dress code. It's important to note that we've never heard of a dress code at work, and our jobs do not require face-to-face interactions with customers. Most of our dealings are via phones or emails. We may see a customer drop by once or twice a year. Most of the team members wear hoodies and long-sleeve t-shirts with jeans or leggings. I usually wear a simple top with pants with my hair neatly blow-dried. Apparently, that's not appropriate enough. Sally said we should try to dress better and more professionally to keep up with the company's image. Her sell was, dress not for the job you have, but the job you want. She made us all sign a document citing the topic of discussion at the meeting. You want us to dress for the job we want? Okay. A few of my colleagues and I decided to maliciously comply the following day. I put my hair in a messy bun, wore my Costco leggings and my husband's old t-shirt. That was my everyday look when I was unemployed. Sally saw me when I walked through the door and asked why I was underdressed. I said, you asked us to dress for the job I want. I want to go back to being a stay-at-home mom. I loved staying at home. She said, that's not what I meant. I meant bigger aspirations and goals, as she looked at me with exasperation. Shortly after, my other colleagues showed up one after the other, two wearing full workout gear, and one wore her anime costume. One guy wore a t-shirt with expletives. The president noticed and asked us if Halloween came early, and we told him what Sally said. I don't know what happened, but safe to say, there was no mention of any dress code since. So OP, these 30-minute meetings where you're not getting paid, well, those are illegal. And the only reason they keep getting away with that and saving the company money on that time is because nobody's making a stink about it. Now, I have a feeling if you were able to get all of those coworkers to go with you on dressing for the job they wanted, you'd probably be able to get a bunch of them to report that meeting, as illegal as it is, and maybe get the company to do something about it, or even get them to refuse to go. Because if enough people do that, it'll send a very clear message to the management. I mean, if one person complains, it's a bit annoying, but if a whole bunch of people complain, well, that's a problem that they need to fix. There's safety in numbers, OP, and you need to use that to your advantage. Check out all 4 OPs linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.